Hello, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us today on the program Law and You. I am Adesuwa Osa-uwagie. Law and You is that platform meant for you to educate you on issues bordering on law of our country. But adventure somebody is infringing on your rights, you will be able to know what to do and where to go to seek justice or to seek redress, as the case may be. We do not encourage you to take laws into your hands because we do not live in a jungle. We live in a civil society, and we also expect you to be civil in whatever you do. Today on Law and You, we are looking at the administration of the judicial system in Nigeria. We're just going to run through it because if we say, let us take it one after the other, that means we're going to stay here all day. But we'll run through it and make sure you get something out of what we're going to be discussing today. Please join me as I welcome Barrister Osa-uwagie, a legal practitioner and a gentleman for that matter. It's nice to have you join us.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so how is the legal profession like, you know?
Well, we thank God, and the legal profession is very challenging, and it's very interesting too.
Okay, you look very smart. Your clients must be doing well for you.
Sure.
Okay, but some lawyers do complain that clients don't want to pay.
No, it's like that in every profession. In every profession, those who sell, who do business, they still have customers who owe them.
Okay.
So the legal profession is not an exception. So we still have those who...
Okay, so let's look at what we have at hand now. The administration of judicial system in Nigeria. When we say administration of judicial system, exactly what are we looking at? What are we talking about?
Yes, when we talk about administration of judicial system, we're actually talking about how the state is able to regulate the society,
okay, by
using the instruments of laws, and one of such instruments is the judiciary, which the court system is one of the machineries in which the state, the government of the state, regulate the society, so that the society will be a better place. Okay. We also have the police, who is not in the judiciary, it's not part of the judiciary, it's also a machinery in which the state regulates the society to make sure that there is law and order.
Okay.
So when we talk about the judiciary simpliciter, it means that we are talking about the court system, right from the lower courts, which we normally call the inferior courts. Then we also have superior courts, the high court, the court of appeal, and the Supreme Court. These are the machinery of the judiciary, okay, in which the state make sure that there is law and order, to make sure that the society will be a better place for us. We also have other courts, like the coroner courts. We have tribunals. All these are set up for different reasons. Okay.
All right. The judiciary is supposed to be the last hope of the common man, but you see, it has become common knowledge, or it is common knowledge, that there are some flaws in the criminal justice system that are kind of beset the whole system, making it very clumsy, so to speak.
Well, thank you very much. The judicial system is a very well structured system. Remember, the judiciary is one of the three arms of government. So we have the executive, we have the legislature, and the judiciary. So the judiciary is well structured, but I will agree with you when you talk about flaws, defects. I will agree with you to some extent, but they are not really flaws. They are actually hiccups that the system is experiencing. But if you look at the judiciary, it is well structured, it's well set up. The hierarchical nature of the judiciary is very well formed, operating very well.
People are fast losing hope in the judicial system.
Yes, that is because of some hiccups. Some people see, like the laymen, they look at the judiciary system is very slow, sluggish. It's slow. No, it is because of the way it is run administratively. There are a lot of cases. Maybe along the line, I will mention some of the reasons why things are slow. One of the reasons is that the judges are not enough.
Could that be why we have plenty of awaiting trial inmates congesting the Nigerian prisons?
The judges are not enough. That is one of the defects. The judges are not enough. The courts are there. The courts are there, but the courts are not there in vacuum. Because in any court there has to be a judge there. So one of the defects that makes the judiciary system, especially when it comes to dealing with criminal cases, that people talk about inmates awaiting trials and all that, is because the judges are not enough. If you go to court, you discover that some of the high courts in Benin here, the cost list just per day is overwhelming, and the judge is a human being.
So what should be done about that, so that the people will have more faith in the judiciary?
What we have always
taking laws into their hands.
Those of us in NBA, what the NBA have always advocated is that more courts should be created. More courts should be created, especially the high courts. More courts should be created so that more judges can man these courts, so that they can handle cases, so that they'll be able to meet up to the increase in crime. The Ministry of Justice, they are ready to prosecute cases. That is why they are there. The DPPA, they are doing their job, but the courts are not just there, in the sense that the judges are not enough to handle these cases. So the NBA several times have called upon the state and the government to appoint more judges to fill in this gap, so that the administration of justice, be it criminal, can move on smoothly.
And you're sure that if we have all that in place, the administration of criminal justice will move on
smoothly
and fast?
Definitely. More courts, creating more courts, we go far in making sure that the criminal justice system is moving.
Why do we usually have delays in matters in court? You know, you're there today, you take adjournment till like a month's time and all that. Before you know what is happening, the matter drags.
Yes, those of us in practice, in legal practice, the essence of getting justice is procedural. There are stages in court proceedings. You don't just come one day and get your judgment that day. There are process. For example, in criminal trial, for instance, we have arraignment, stages of arraignment. We have stages of trial. Even in the midst of trial, there are other trials within the trials. So before you get to stages of calling witnesses, how many witnesses can the court take in a day? If you have 10 witnesses, can the court call 10 witnesses in just one matter when there are other matters? So you discover that these things are procedural. From arraignment, from the trial, till when you get judgment. So it might look slow, but it is actually the process in which the law has adopted to get it. You cannot just do arraignment, do trial, and give judgment the same day. It's not possible. So it's not possible. Those of us in the system discover that it might be slow, but the judiciary is doing its best to make sure that between the ambits of the law, they are able to carry out their work. It's, like I said, it's procedural.
So the procedures must be followed.
Must be followed.
And we can't go outside that.
We can't go outside that.
Okay, the program is Law and You on independent television, and I have with me Barrister Osa-uwagie, and we're looking at the administration of judicial system in Nigeria. If you check your screen, you will find a telephone number that you can use to send SMS only. Don't call, just send a text message to us and we will definitely get back to you. We also have our website addresses there for you to use to reach us on the program, Law and You. We'll take a very short break, and when we come back, we'll do more.
The DPO comes in the morning and says, what are you doing at the police station? What are you doing here? What are you doing here? And you say, I was arrested. Who arrested you? John arrested you. Call me John. Why did you arrest this man? If he cannot give an account to the DPO why he's arresting, the DPO asks you to go.
I point a gun at someone, he gets frightened. It is battery, even though no physical injury has been suffered.
Citizen of a country, you have all your fundamental rights intact, and nobody, including the police, can subject you to extortion and inhuman treatment.
Glad to have you join us again on the program Law and You on Independent Television. I am Adesuwa Osa-uwagie, and I still have with me Barrister Ehis Omodia. So, Barrister, let's look at the basic laws dealing with crime in our society, which seems to be obsolete, taking into consideration the sophistication of crime in our society now.
I don't know what you mean by sophistication. But if I were to be telepathic,
we have very wonderful crimes being committed, maybe, so to speak. Okay.
Maybe
like cybercrime.
Yes. You know. Maybe what you are trying to infer is that some of these crimes are now very rampant as at the time the criminal code or the penal code were put into place in 1945 and all that.
High-profile crime.
Yes.
That's what
like for instance,
high-profile crime.
Yes. For instance, kidnapping has always been in the criminal code. Has always been there. But because it was not an offense that was rampant many years ago, so now that it is rampant, the law has always been there. Now that it is rampant, people now discover that the punishment fees for such crimes, as at that time, was very low.
Okay.
Maybe like what happened in the early 80s. The armed robbery, for instance, was just a minimum of 21 years. 21 years as punishment. But because armed robbery was not rampant before the 80s or before the Civil War, people thought it was okay. But as at the time after the Civil War, armed robbery was very rampant. So people thought that sentencing somebody for just 21 years for armed robbery, it's too minimal. People began to frown at it. So what the government did was to make other laws. They brought the promulgated another law that to deal with armed robbery, and at that time the offense was now death. Was not death. Making the punishment very stricter.
Okay.
So, but it will shock you that, notwithstanding that the government has promulgated another law to deal with armed robbery, apart from what we had in the criminal code, but armed robbery is still very on the increase. So, for example, kidnapping has always been there too, but in recent years, the spate of kidnapping was on the very high side. Cyber crimes has always been there, but the innovations of technology, so it's now coming to the fore. So people felt that those who breach these offenses, the punishment should be very stricter.
Do we really have laws to deal with all this crime?
Yeah, the law. The laws. That's what I said. That, like for example, kidnapping. Notwithstanding that House of Assemblies all over the country now, they are making hue and cry about making the punishment to be death penalty or whatnot, or life imprisonment. Kidnapping has always been there, but the punishment is not as stricter and severe as what it is now, because it's now very rampant. So the laws, there is no crime particularly, to my knowledge, that the criminal code did not provide for. There is no crime. They are all there, but the punishment was not as strict as the present day severe. So what people clamor for these days is that, oh, kidnapping is very rampant. How can you say somebody who kidnaps somebody, okay, you sentence to 14 years? So they make House of Assemblies, like what happened in 2009. Those House of Assembly made it to be very stricter. There was another amendment again to make it death penalty and all that, to the extent that they even amended it to the extent that anywhere that they keep somebody that is being kidnapped, the house should be destroyed. All these are just to make the punishment strict by promulgating other laws. But it will shock you to know that, notwithstanding that the punishment is not very severe, but the offenses, the people still commit the crime in every nook and corner of the country.
Not minding the very
notwithstanding that the punishment now is death or life imprisonment. That shows to us that when you now look at, sociologically speaking, it shows to us that this offense, this sophistication of offense that you are talking about, it is not actually a criminal issue. It's more of a sociological problem.
Okay.
So because if it is a criminal, if it's an offense, if it's an issue that to deal with criminal minds, maybe if you say sentencing somebody to death for the offense of kidnapping will deter people. But it's a sociological problem. A society where the social strata is very, it differs a lot. The rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer. So it's more of a social problem. So
does it look like the judicial system here lacks coherent framework, that kind of states the role of everybody in the society, like the police, the courts, everybody, even with the very severe punishment? How come the crime is still on the increase,
Yes, that is the point we made, that it is a sociological problem.
How do we deal with it?
So the way to deal with these offenses is not for the legislatures to keep increasing the punishment level. Even if you say kidnapping, armed robbery, or whatnot to be death sentence, it will not stop it, because it's a sociological problem. A society where 30% of its youths don't have, 30% of graduates don't have jobs. We're talking about graduates alone. 30% of graduates don't have jobs to do. So if there is no job, people want to commit crimes. So it is not a judiciary problem. Neither are we saying the police are not doing their work. The police are doing their work very fine. They're trying to go after people that breach committed offenses. But it is a sociological problem. I gave an instance earlier about armed robbery. In the 80s, a law was promulgated under the military regime to deal with armed robbery. But it has always been there in the criminal code anyway. But from 21 years, it was taken to death sentence. So the armed robbery and firearm law that was promulgated then, that was domesticated by those states here too. So, but armed robbery is still on the increase. So it means that it's a social problem.
How do we deal with that?
So the way to deal with it is for the government to provide jobs for the teeming youths. Secondly, is for the government to also provide an environment.
Is lack of job an excuse to commit crime?
No, it is not. It is not. But it is still one of the problems we have. Because if you look at countries where unemployment is very low, their crime is always very low. There's a correlation with countries that have low unemployment. If you look at countries that have high unemployment, like countries like Nigeria, you discover that crime is on the increase. So nobody will say, and it will be out of place for someone to say that there is no correlation between unemployment and crime. There's a clear correlation. That's one of the reasons. Then secondly, let the government provide an environment for business to thrive. People don't have access to loans. Okay, recently government across borders be talking about farming. Do you know that this is not the first time government acquire money for farming? During Jonathan's government, they talked about farming. But funny enough, notwithstanding the billions that the federal government put into agricultural programs, who gets it? It is the politician who is a billionaire who does not even have a farm that have access to these loans. So you give loans to a billionaire who is not a farmer, loans that is made for farmers. It's not even a farmer. So they don't have access to the loans. Then those who even do the farming, when they talk about fertilizer and all that, they don't even get it. So if the government has a lot to do in reducing crime, one, they should make sure that there's work for the team used to do. Secondly, they should create an environment for business to strive. Left for me, I've met youths who are not ready to work in government, who are not ready to be civil servants. They are not ready to work in corporations. They just want to do business. So what those people need is just an environment. While I was in the university, I have colleagues who were not ready. They said it at initial that they were not ready to go and look for a job anywhere, no matter how much Tesaco or NNPC will pay them. They were the people who were business inclined. But when they left school, the environment was not favorable enough. So these are the two things that I think the government can do to reduce crime, because amending the laws, like we have seen in the issue of kidnapping, armed robbery, amending the laws to make sure that the punishment is death sentence, even if it means...
Even if it's death sentence, who is going to assent to it?
Assent to...
The sentence, yes.
Because
we have not heard of any of such punishment being carried out.
No, the executions. No, it has. It has. During the last administration, about 5 or 6 persons were executed.
Okay.
So it is the duty of the president or the governor to assent for death sentence. So, but there are still many persons, there are still many inmates who were sentenced to death.
Who are still
but
there.
the governor or the president did not assent. So they be sentenced. So that's not even the issue. If somebody has been sentenced and the assent has not been approved, it's not an issue. But I will tell you, there are still persons in the society who will still commit that crime. We were very young in this country when people commit offenses like armed robbery, kidnapping and all that were killed through firing squad. They even show it on TV. Against now that they don't show execution on TV. They even show it on TV when we were young. But it didn't deter people. So like I said, it's more of a societal problem, economic problem. So I say this without missing words, that if the economy is favorable to everybody, the crime rate will reduce. But I tell you, even if we were to be living in an utopic environment, people will still commit offense. People will still commit offense. But what the society wants is just to reduce it.
We cannot eradicate crime, but at least reduce to the barest minimum.
I believe that crime can be eradicated.
How?
That's maybe when we get to heaven.
All right, so just before I let you go, what's the way forward for the judicial system in Nigeria?
Yes, the judicial system is a very complex arm of government, and they are playing a very pivotal and key role. The executive is there, the legislature is there, but if you look at the judiciary, it has a very unique role.
Okay.
And without the judiciary, the society cannot cope crime, because the police haven't done their investigation. It is still the judiciary that is the platform where the law will be meted out to the offenders. So the judiciary needs to be strengthened. I think from what I've seen on ground is that the judiciary lacks funds. They are not being funded the way the legislatures and the executive is funded. That is also a challenge.
Okay.
So, like I said, appointment of more judges is necessary, especially in Edo State now. The appointment of more judges, so that more courts can be created. The judge, those of us who go to court day in day out, we discover that some of the judges are being weared out. If you go to court, you see a cost list of 30 cases in a day. For God's sake, that judge is a human being. It is because the judges are not enough. That is why we see all this. Yes. So if they can appoint more judges, it will go a long way. Then funding. Some of the courts they are just shackles. Some of the courts we have in Edo State here, they are just shackles compared to what we have in Lagos State. Those of us who started our practice in Lagos, if you go to Ugbeshere Magistrate Court in Marina, the Magistrate Court, which is an inferior court, is far better than the High Court we have in Edo State here.
Okay. So by and large, all we need is funding,
then structural, the structures,
and then employ more judges.
Yeah, we employ more judges. Then I don't see why in Edo State here we do not see, well, the High Courts, most of the High Courts, there's no AC. There's no AC in the High Courts. There are no good chairs.
Okay, whose problem is that?
It's the executive.
Okay.
Because the executive is saddled with the responsibility to funding this thing. But it's as if that they keep a blind eye to judiciary. Okay. If you go to House of Assembly, where the legislators meet and their offices, the places were furnished.
So if we have all this put in place now, the judiciary will function.
Yes, now. If we have all these things in place, the judges will have a good environment to do their work. Then
justice will be
yes, then we, the practicing lawyers, will also be encouraged. We also be encouraged to come and do our business there.
Okay.
So I think these are these few points. If the government can look at it, the judicial system.
You have made your point. Thank you so much for being my guest on the program, Law.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, this is where we wrap it on the program, Law and You. We thank you so much for watching. Good afternoon.